Hey, what's up guys? Everything Apple Pro here. So close to the iPhone 12 launch, yet so much division on which features will make it into final production. Apparently 120 Hz is actually happening. We've got to look at the iPhone 12, some exclusive leaks here, and a ton of others. I've actually never seen so many leaks cropping up at the same time. New Twitter leakers popping up on the daily. Yeah, let's get into that. Now, no new renders in this video, I'm sorry. I think most people don't realize how much time that actually takes. We finalized our design for Gen 2 phone Rebel cases. We've taken all the best design features from our Gen 1 and implemented it into a closed case. And for everybody wondering where the open one is, we'll be releasing that in 2021. I actually want to wait and see what Apple has in store with the magnetic system. I'm actually going to be demoing that later in this video, or a rough draft of it. And if possible, might take some of Apple's magnet system and implement it into ours. Again, we don't know, but I want to wait and see there. Closed cases, we hope to have on market by Christmas. So stay tuned on that one. Super excited. And once again, the camera orientation for the iPhone 12 Pro models is changing. It's not going to be that square camera orientation. That's already been established. The LiDAR will sit below the ultra-wide lens, but now the mic placement seems to have changed from the top to the bottom right. And leaker Duan Rui shares a case for the iPhone 12 Pro Max with this mic placement. And I still don't think this is 100%, but apparently this is the closest to the real deal and been confirmed by several leakers. And 120 Hz might actually make it into this year's iPhones, the 12 Pro models. Jon Prosser says, don't give up hope yet on this feature, and apparently Apple has it working flawlessly on the 12 Pro Max model. It's the smaller 6.1-inch model that's giving them grief. He went on to share these screenshots showing the settings for this feature, and one where you can permanently enable that 120 Hz feature, and another where it's adaptive, switching between 60 and 120 Hz depending on what you're doing. Now this is from a PVT, a production validated testing engineering sample. This is the unit that they learned from how to mass produce the feature. All this is proof of is that Apple was working on this feature, and Max Weinbach also shared an image of the actual unit, iPhone 12 Pro unit. On Twitter I said it was a 12 Pro Max. That's incorrect. This is a 6.1-inch 12 Pro. So they were able to get that running on this unit. Unclear if it'll make it to production just based off of this. But from this image, we can also see that the notch is pretty much staying the same. There are a couple changes in the status bar. We now have an AM or PM badge to the right of the time, and the battery icon is now more rounded, slightly different from my 11 Pro Max model. Jon Prosser also shared camera settings, which do confirm the existence of a LiDAR sensor, and this is on a 6.7-inch model, so still don't know if it'll be happening on the 6.1, but we can assume it would be. And display analyst Ross Young claims that Apple is having some issues sourcing driver ICs, or the power unit for the 120 Hz displays. If they were to delay the launch, they could figure it out, so it's still up for grabs, but he's saying it's doubtful, probably will be releasing with 60 Hz displays, and they'll be shelving that feature for 2021. Twitter leaker iAppleTimes is hopeful though, saying that Apple did it and figured out the 120 Hz issue. Will be launching on the 6.1 and 6.7-inch Pro models. I like that we're still undecided on this, but with so little time, is Apple really debilitating whether or not to launch this feature? I mean, I guess we'll find out early September. And Jon Prosser gives us some final details on the iPhone 12 Pro Max model. So the notch is staying the same. It appears smaller because of the slightly larger display on the 12 Pro Max model. As Max Weinbach reported earlier, he's saying Face ID will work from more angles and it'll work on the table in front of you when your iPhone is laying flat. Also that the sides are flat, slightly, ever so slightly rounded, and the rear camera module is about 10% larger. Also got some exclusive spec images of the 6.7-inch 12 Pro Max model. One confirming that the display will be 6.7 inches with a resolution of 2788 by 1284. Also confirming that a 20-watt fast power adapter will be available for this iPhone, and also confirming that this will not be sold in the box. It'll be sold as a standalone accessory for this year's iPhone. Also, Max Weinbach is reporting that there will be a new version of Face ID. Speeds are the same, but the tech is a little bit different. They had to reshuffle it a little bit in order for it to fit in the smaller 5.4-inch iPhone. Also, Weinbach shares some close-up images of the braided lightning cable for this year's iPhone. Really nothing new here. The black one is from the Mac Pro. Just some nice confirmation that this is arriving in the box. Now, in the last video, we shared that magnet orientation, which will be arriving in the iPhone 12 housing and in the official cases. Now, we took this very similar orientation with 1/4 inch magnets, 1/32 of an inch, and placed it into our case in a dummy model. Actually very surprised at how strong it was. So these are going to be reversed polarities, north-south, north-south. You can pretty much lock them in any direction. I could see this being useful for locking into another iPhone and reverse wireless charging it, or into a mount in your car. Apparently Apple is working on that, and they have patents for a magnet system which works in cars. Possibly use this on their wireless chargers. I think it was very interesting to print that and get a feel for it, although Apple's, of course, will be far more refined. An interesting report from Ming-Chi Kuo reports that 5G components in this year's iPhone 12 models will add a $75 to $85 cost to the iPhone 12, and millimeter wave components will add $125 to $135 in cost. And to subsidize some of that cost, apparently the batteries on this year's iPhone 12 will be about 40 to 50% cheaper compared to the iPhone 11 and 11 Pro, with a simpler hard and soft hybrid design. And Ming-Chi Kuo directly references the iPhone 12s model, which will be happening in 2021, saying it'll have an even simpler battery design to be inspired by the components on the AirPods Pro. System in package design and flexible PCB will make the battery spacing even more efficient. Twitter leaker iHack2Pro reports on some massive gains for the iPhone 12 Pro Max battery, almost 3 hours better than the iPhone 11 Pro Max once it gets down to the last 7%, which is incredibly impressive. And the iPhone 12 Max will have 3 hours and 30 minutes better battery life than a comparable iPhone 11. iHack2Pro also reports that Apple will be using an even more impressive aerospace grade steel in this year's 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max models. It'll have even better heat properties, so more heat resistant and more cold resistant in extreme temperatures. That sounds amazing. Alongside that, iHack2Pro reports that Apple is improving the water resistance of this year's iPhones with improved seals and a new water ejection feature, which will be available from the control center. You'll be able to eject water from the speakers, much like you would on the Apple Watch series. And TSMC themselves have given us an estimate on what we can expect from the Apple A14. So they're saying we'll be seeing a 30% improvement in efficiency and a 15% gain in performance. And same thing goes for their 3nm chip, likely the Apple A16, arriving in late 2022. So a 30% efficiency boost with a 15% power boost. And following the release of the iPhone 12 Pro, iApple Times claims that the iPhone XR and 11 Pro series will get axed. The iPhone 11 will receive a discounted rate of $549. Now, Business Insider and recently several other sources are claiming that a 4G only version of the iPhone 12 will be arriving early 2021, likely around February, March, for around $800. Not releasing now, so they don't cannibalize the sales of the 5G iPhones, but it is going to happen. Also, the Apple Watch SE, a cheaper variant of the Apple Watch, which will take the form of the Apple Watch Series 3, so same body but newer internals, will be happening early 2021. Apple is very much focused on the budget segment, and the Apple Watch is next. Actually, very interesting that they're doing this. Now, as for the iPhone 12 event, it might take place on September 10th, but unlikely. Apple tested a live stream, which was slated for release on September 10th, which is a Thursday. That's unlikely, Jon Prosser says, as they don't really release stuff on Thursdays. Prosser did give us dates, though, for upcoming Apple products, saying that the Apple Watch and iPad will be released via a press release on the 37th week of 2020, and that the iPhone 12 event will be happening on the 42nd week of 2020, which is plus or minus a few days from October 12th. And the iPhone 12s are slated to launch around October 19th, which is the following week after pre-orders, and the iPhone 12 Pro models slated for November, so no concrete dates for those just yet. Twitter leaker Komiya predicts that we might be seeing a pre-order date on November 20th with a launch date on the 27th. So quite a bit ways after the iPhone 12 launch, hopefully enough time for them to incorporate that 120Hz display. And regarding final prices, starting point of $699 for a 128GB iPhone 12, all the way up to $1399 for a 512GB 12 Pro Max, which is actually a very reasonable price, $50 less than a fully maxed out 11 Pro Max. Also wanted to share this absolutely bonkers engineering prototype of an AirPower. So there's a teardown revealing that not quite as many coils as originally anticipated. And on the backside, on the logic board, there's an extensive cooling array here with massive logic board. So essentially a power unit for every single coil. Just nuts here. I've studied a lot of wireless chargers as we're building ours. I cannot imagine how much engineering went into this, and to still have it fail, that is so crazy. Actually, one of the coolest things I've ever seen Apple build. Hopefully they can finish it. Twitter leaker Soy claims that Apple has finished the animations for AirPower and that it would be launching alongside the iPhone 12s in October. Also, Twitter leaker Komiya claims that AirPods Studio, Apple's over-ear headphones, will be arriving via press release. So no official event for those, they'll just be dropping them sometime in September. Also, Twitter leaker Apple Rumors Leaks claims that the first silicon MacBook will be arriving in September, and this comes alongside a new patent for ultra-thin bezels on a MacBook Pro design. This is actually very impressive how sleek they got it. This is coming straight from Apple, so assume that this is the design of the display coming to the next generation MacBook Pro. And a quick recap on iOS 14 Beta 6. So when selecting the news widgets, the organization is different, and the super tall widget is no longer available to select. It's now by default enabled in the widgets page. And when editing a shortcut widget, now it's called Shortcut with a new description, and the time picker has once again been adjusted. Now when selecting it, you'll see this blue border going around. In Photos, in your other media types, previously Other Albums is now called Utilities. And when opening up Maps for the first time, you get this new splash screen describing cycling navigation, curated guides, and speed cameras. Also in Maps, super annoying bug, it's crashing almost all the time. But the transit user interface in Maps is looking better, less compact. And in accessibility settings, in AirPods, Apple has enabled spatial audio here, so you now have this toggle to follow iPhone. Also older from Beta 5, with Siri enabled, you can interact with a background app while still interacting with Siri. Awesome change. And since iOS 14 Beta 5, Apple has made great improvement to the LiDAR quality, so developers now have access to even higher quality there, probably in anticipation of the iPhone 12 Pro. All right, guys, that's the latest. There are so many other leaks I omitted in this video, just way too many. But yeah, I like that the giant that is Apple has reared its head and tons of innovation coming. I'm so excited. 2021 is going to be the year, man. This year was strange, so strange. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Peace.